Welcome back to our course on writing and publishing a scientific paper. As a reminder, remember that an article is composed of different parts or different blocks: the title, the abstract, the introduction, the literature review, the methodology, the results, the discussion, and the conclusion. We've already touched on some of the specific blocks, but this lesson is going to focus solely on the abstract. The abstract is really essential to your paper because, unfortunately, it's not uncommon for readers to just read this one section to see if the topic and paper catches their attention or not. The chief editor of your targeted journal that we mentioned before is probably going to focus on just this part of your paper on their first evaluation. From there, they'll decide whether they're going to briefly read your entire article before he decides to send it on to the reviewers. And your peers in the scientific community will read that part, the abstract, and decide if the paper's worth their time to read. They're going to evaluate your paper by looking at the abstract. With that in mind, it should be possible to simply read your abstract and know the so what of your paper. It also should be possible for a reader not familiar with a specific subject to understand what your paper's about based on the abstract alone. That's not easy, but fear not, we're here to help. Depending on the journal you're sending your article to, the abstract length can vary quite a bit. Usually its length will range between 100 and 200 words. Some may even limit it to a very tiny, focused abstract of 40 words or so. So you'll have to adapt to the type of journal you want to publish in. Here again, we're going to advise you to look carefully at the abstracts published in the journals you're targeting and imitate those styles, as well as understand the constrictions and expectations. By this point, we've made it pretty clear that we consider the abstract a key component of your article. It's a preface. It sums up everything you're getting ready to write about. With that in mind, we suggest that you actually write your abstract first. It might seem a little backwards, and the actual abstract might seem inadequate because it looks like nothing you want to write about. But developing it first will actually help you write your whole article. The idea is that you'll use your abstract as a map for what you'll present as you go on. Basically, you're going to use your abstract as a construction map in order to build your article. As we've said, it will define and answer the principal questions in your article. So use it to guide you through writing your paper. Then, after you're finished writing everything, you come back to your abstract and make sure that what you wrote in your paper was exactly what you intended to write about when you drafted the abstract. Following this process will focus you on the points that really matter. Then, if you need to, you can go back and make changes so the abstract truly lines up with the paper. In building the abstract, always come back to the MRCI Framework we presented in the last lesson. The idea is to answer specific types of questions that are relevant for the structure of your paper, and just as importantly, for the structure of your abstract. Questions to help you remain focused can include: who are the intended readers? What did you actually do during your research? Why did you do it? What happened when you did that? What do your results mean in practice and in theory? What are the key benefits for the readers? What remains unsolved? These questions will definitely help you build your article, but more importantly, they're going to help you define, first, the motivation of your article, then the results, contribution, and the implication of your own research. And of those, a good starting question is the first one. Knowing the intended readers is important. Depending on the journal, the abstract is going to be more or less specific. For example, if you're writing with the intention of being published in Science, your abstract is not going to be specific at all, but very general, not going deep into details. On the other hand, if you write for some select journals, let's say the Journal of Organic Chemistry, you're going to write a more specific abstract with a more explicit result and exemplification. In this case, you need to answer all of the questions with a short answer of perhaps 1 to 2 sentences and compile everything into a tiny paragraph. With that, the abstract is done. Now that's nice and easy, isn't it? Going back to the MRCI framework, you first need to talk of the motivation and the so what of your article. That will help people consider reading your article in the first place. Then you need to describe a little more precisely your subject, defining how your research has done something important. In other words, defining the methodology you're going to apply to the specific question raised before. Next, you need to discuss your results briefly. And finally, you need to put your results in context and explain why they were important. Remember, look at the questions we posed earlier in this lesson and answer them carefully. They'll help guide you. Specifically, the last question concerning the unresolved issues might need to be included in your abstract, depending on your field and the journal you're sending the article to. If so, you may want to put some information concerning your ongoing work or the future development possible for your work. All of this is pretty easy, but work hard to carefully answer very clearly and very simply each of the questions. Each one of them is important. Make sure you carefully consider and address the question, what are the key benefits for the readers when writing your paper? This question is an underlying central theme throughout your paper, as it will be the leading point that drives your writing. Remember, you're publishing something, and by doing so, you want to appeal to your readers. You want them to benefit having read your work. That's going to wrap this section about the abstract. Good luck as you begin your work. Next, we'll deal with the final tips for writing your article.